In the arena of modern warfare, where silence can mean security and speed can mean survival, few weapons capture the imagination and fear of the world, like the Russian Kh-47M2 Kinzhal, a hypersonic missile that has been called both a game-changer and a ghost in the sky. Known by its NATO-reported name, Killjoy, this missile doesn't glide. It doesn't lumber. It blazes, moving at speeds incomprehensible to most defensive systems on Earth. Today, we embark on a journey deep into the technology, strategy, and controversy surrounding this weapon. A story of engineering ingenuity intertwined with geopolitical tension. A story that forces us to ask, what happens when a missile becomes faster than fear itself? The tale of the Kinzhal begins not in a dusty hangar or an isolated test range, but in a room where strategy and necessity met ambition. Russia, like every other major military power, has long pursued weapons that can penetrate defenses and strike with precision at long range. In the early 2010s, engineers began experimenting with the concept of marrying two things that had rarely been combined: the agility of an aircraft and the destructive potential of a ballistic missile. Out of this union came the Kh-47M2. It looked familiar in form: a slender body, swept fins, scaled for aerodynamic efficiency. Yet it was exceptional in capability. Built upon the foundation of the solid-fueled 9K-720 Iskander missile, the Kinzhal was redesigned for air launch from high-speed jets. This key innovation meant that instead of relying on a ground platform for launch, the missile could be carried aloft by fast, high-flying aircraft, most notably the MiG-31K, a modified variant of the legendary Cold War interceptor. From there, at high altitude and high velocity, the Kinzhal could fire, instantly gaining an advantage that would be impossible to achieve from the ground alone. President Vladimir Putin formally unveiled the system in 2018 as part of a suite of next-generation strategic weapons, heralding it as a direct response to advances in Western missile defense technologies that Russia feared could neutralize traditional nuclear deterrence. To understand the threat the Kinzhal poses and why analysts once described it as nearly impossible to intercept, we must first grasp what makes a missile hypersonic. Hypersonic speed is defined as anything that travels faster than Mach 5, 5 times the speed of sound. Unlike cruise missiles that fly at lower altitudes and speeds, or ballistic missiles that arc high above before descending, the Kinzhal blends characteristics. It follows a depressed aeroballistic trajectory with the maneuverability of a guided weapon, making its path unpredictable. Once released, the Kinzhal rapidly accelerates, first to roughly Mach for nearly 5,000 kilometers per hour, and potentially up to Mach 10, around 12,000 kilometers per hour. At these velocities, the missile traverses the distance of hundreds of kilometers in minutes, leaving little time for a reaction. The physics behind such speed create a dramatic phenomenon. The air in front of the missile becomes a superheated plasma sheet. Radar waves are absorbed rather than reflected back, giving the weapon a kind of plasma stealth that further complicates tracking. The Kinzhal's air-launched nature is more than a technical detail. It's the foundation of its strategic value. The primary launch platform is the MiG-31K, a supersonic interceptor capable of speeds exceeding Mach 2 and operational ceilings higher than many fighters. From this lofty perch, the missile begins its flight with momentum no ground-based launch could provide. In addition to the MiG-31K, plans and reports suggest that Russia has expanded compatibility to include the revamped Tu-22M3M strategic bomber, an aircraft designed for long-range missions and heavy payloads. This adaptation not only increases the flexibility of deployment, but also extends the reach of the weapon itself. Creating a weapon capable of hypersonic flight is not just a matter of designing a missile. It's a battle against physics itself. The Kinzhal's engineers faced extraordinary challenges, from heat management to guidance systems that could function under extreme stress. At hypersonic speeds, air friction generates temperatures exceeding 10 degrees Celsius, enough to melt conventional metals. To survive these conditions, the Kinzhal incorporates advanced thermal-resistant alloys and ceramic coatings that protect its internal electronics and propulsion systems. Its guidance computers had to be hardened against both heat and vibration, while remaining precise enough to adjust trajectory mid-flight, a necessity given the missile's aeroballistic path. The propulsion system itself is a hybrid design. Initially accelerated by the launch aircraft, the missile's rocket engine ignites to propel it to hypersonic velocities. This dual-stage system provides both speed and maneuverability, making interception extremely difficult. Engineers also optimize fuel composition to maintain consistent thrust without compromising stability, a delicate balance that took years of testing to perfect. Russia officially declared the Kinzhal operational in 2017, signaling a new era in strategic weaponry. Its deployment was carefully calculated. The missile needed platforms capable of handling high-speed launches and operational crews trained to execute rapid mission planning. The MiG-31K, with its long-range radar and high-altitude capabilities, proved ideal. The aircraft could carry a single Kinzhal missile, climb the launch altitude, and release the weapon at speeds exceeding Mach 2, giving the missile a significant head start. Once airborne, the Kinzhal could cover hundreds of kilometers within minutes, effectively shrinking the reaction window for any potential adversary in exercises and simulated combat scenarios. The Kinzhal demonstrated its ability to strike heavily defended targets, including naval vessels and ground installations. The combination of speed, maneuverability, and payload made traditional missile defenses, such as radar-guided interceptor systems, nearly obsolete against it. While speed and maneuverability define the Kinzhal, its payload gives it lethality. The missile can carry a conventional high-explosive warhead capable of destroying hardened infrastructure or a nuclear warhead, extending its role from tactical strike to strategic deterrence. Estimates suggest that Kinzhal's conventional warhead can weigh around 480 to 500 kilograms, enough to devastate bunkers, command centers, and naval vessels. Paired with hypersonic velocity, even heavily armored ships face extreme vulnerability. Interception windows are measured in seconds, leaving little time to react. The nuclear variant is a clear geopolitical statement. By equipping the missile with a nuclear warhead, Russia signals that hypersonic weapons are now integral to both tactical and strategic doctrine, a modern embodiment of deterrence theory. One of the defining features of the Kinzhal is its near immunity to current missile defense systems. Traditional surface-to-air systems are optimized for slower, predictable trajectories. The Kinzhal's combination of speed, low-altitude flight, and aerodynamic maneuvering renders these defenses largely ineffective. Analysts suggest that even advanced Western systems, such as the Patriot PAC-3 or Aegis ballistic missile defense, would struggle to reliably intercept it. Some proposed countermeasures include hypersonic interceptors, directed energy weapons, or electronic warfare to disrupt targeting systems, but these are largely experimental and not widely deployed. In essence, the Kinzhal introduces a new paradigm. The offense now outruns the defense. This capability reshapes strategic calculations and introduces uncertainty into previously stable deterrence equations. The operational debut of the Kinzhal sent shockwaves through military circles worldwide. Beyond its technical specifications, it embodies a psychological advantage. Nations aware of its existence must now account for a weapon that can strike quickly, unexpectedly, and with unparalleled precision. For Russia, the missile is both a tool of deterrence and a bargaining chip in international relations. Its deployment signals technological sophistication, military reach, and readiness to defend strategic interests. For potential adversaries, the Kinzhal demands new strategies, investments in missile defense research, and reevaluation of naval and ground force positioning. Furthermore, the missile has intensified the global hypersonic race. The United States, China, and several other countries have accelerated development programs aimed at matching or exceeding the Kinzhal's capabilities. The result is a rapidly evolving strategic environment where speed, precision, and stealth dominate, although details remain largely classified. Reports indicate that Kinzhal has been deployed in regional conflicts for testing and deterrence purposes. Its mere presence in certain theaters has altered military tactics, forcing adversaries to disperse assets, invest in early warning systems, and reconsider conventional strike plans. At the same time, the missile raises ethical and legal questions. With nuclear and conventional variants capable of striking rapidly at distances of over 2,000 kilometers, critics argue that hypersonic weapons could destabilize regions and increase the risk of escalation. Unlike slower systems, the Kinzhal leaves minimal time for diplomatic or strategic intervention, a fact that worries analysts who study escalation dynamics. The Kinzhal's hypersonic speed is its defining feature. Traveling at Mach 10, It compresses time and space, reaching targets hundreds of kilometers away in minutes. Unlike traditional missiles, it can maneuver mid-flight, changing trajectory to avoid defenses, making interception extremely difficult. This combination of speed and agility forces adversaries to rethink defensive strategies entirely. Strategically, the Kinzhal serves multiple roles. It can neutralize high-value targets, such as aircraft carriers or command centers, and act as a deterrent, signaling Russia's ability to strike quickly and decisively. Its deployment reshapes regional power balances, compelling rivals to invest in new countermeasures or reconsider offensive planning. The Kinzhal isn't just a Russian asset. It is a symbol of the hypersonic arms race. Nations like the United States, China, and India are racing to develop similar capabilities. In this new era, the speed of weapons is as important as their destructive power. The Kinzhal exemplifies a shift in modern warfare. Dominance is no longer just about numbers or range, but about how fast and unpredictably you can project force. In the end, the KH-47M2 Kinzhal is more than a missile. It is a statement of technological prowess, strategic innovation, and modern military ambition. It represents the future of warfare where speed, precision, and unpredictability redefine the balance of power. In the sky, it moves faster than fear itself, leaving the world to wonder what comes next in the age of hypersonic weapons.